It's a good example you quoted of Panvel because yes, after relaunch we saw a lot of traction coming in. But before that, what went wrong? Because there are times the marketing campaigns can go wrong. There are times when you need to relaunch and understand what went wrong in the beginning to address the market in a different way. So when it comes to that, in terms of when marketing campaigns go wrong, in terms of your communication or in terms of not targeting the right audience, how do you revisit? What are the steps? And how do you understand where are the weakness in your campaign where you could have done it better? And what kind of tools does it help for you to understand when you make such mistakes?
So I think firstly it's about a detailed root cause analysis, right? Because it is the most expensive purchase any consumer makes in their life, and therefore every little bit of pricing leverage matters. So it could be as simple as nothing is wrong with your project, but you have a new launch next door where the value equation is much better, right? So I think the first step is doing that root cause analysis to make sure what really is happening in the market. And I think that then leads to different steps. So we've, right from just tweaking our proposition and focusing on understanding why consumers are buying, identifying that, and then refocusing the campaign on that so that the same success formula applies to others, right from something as small to actually redesigning the next phase of a project because a certain inventory just wasn't moving and we need to redesign and come up with the right kind of product mix that would work with them. So it's a spectrum of what could be the issue and therefore how does one work on it. But yeah, honestly, if the analysis showed that there's a problem internal to us and the project and the mix, I think that's an easier solve. The bigger challenge is when there's nothing wrong with your offering, but it's just some competitor who's come up with something a lot better, which is attracting consumers. That does become a tougher battle.
Then how do you address that?
I mean, again, it depends on what is it. If it's, is it an inventory thing? What is your leverage? I think I go back to saying, so as humans, our tendency is to keep trying to build or cover up our weaknesses. I think we undermine the power in building on your strengths. And I think that's what we tend to focus on. We try to focus on, which is look at what is our strength and build on that. And focus even more and double down on that and see how that can be communicated stronger, that can be made to experience it even better. Because like I said, at the end of the day, we just want those 500, 800, 1,000, 1,200 consumers, depending on the size of the project, who are open to that messaging, who want that in their home. But yes, it does pay to focus a lot more, sharpen your message, sharpen your proposition, and build on what the strength is.
So tell me, in 2024, we noticed subvention scheme has come back in marketing, especially in Mumbai real estate, right? Buy now, pay later. Is it because of oversupply, or is it because the marketing campaign went wrong in the first place? So now this is another way to attract home buyers.
See, from my experience, yes, subvention schemes have always attracted home buyers because if I actually analyze the buyer segment in real estate, I think 60% or more would be a kind of a buyer who are not exposed to real estate at any point of time. They might be, from different industries and all of that. So then, they don't really understand the nuances of the subvention scheme, whether it is a bank subvention, whether it is a developer subvention. Yeah, developer subvention, anybody would jump, but then you need to understand what are the nuances of it. Am I benefiting? Am I losing? Who is paying the interest on my behalf? Is the loan in my name? Is it in developer's name? It is in somebody else's name. So subvention, if for audience, it is a tri-party agreement. If the bank is involved, if the bank is not involved, then it is a two-party agreement between the buyer and the developer. In a developer subvention scheme, basically if it's a 20/80, then the developer gets only 20%. He has to wait till he hands over the building to the buyer, then he gets 80%. It's a win-win situation clearly from a buyer perspective. But then the developer is actually taking a very, very big risk because he has to complete entire 100% of the work by getting only 20%. And then if, for example, something goes wrong, then you are not getting your home at the end of the day. So that is the pros and cons of a developer subvention scheme, whereas a bank subvention scheme, it's a tri-party agreement. And in the tri-party agreement, the developer stands to not lose anything. It's a win-win for the developer. But then if for some kind of a problem, some unforeseen circumstances, if the project is delayed or something happens, then the CIBIL score and everything that can go wrong with the consumer goes wrong. So all said and done, so firstly, a consumer has to understand what exactly is the subvention scheme, who is paying what. So this is kind of a little tricky for a non-real estate person or a non-finance person to understand all of this, number one. And secondly, these subvention schemes have always come back into the market. It has always worked in terms of attracting the clients. For example, if I take our our township projects, Hiranandani Gardens, Powai, there are a lot of subvention schemes that we have been running. But yes, are people buying in those subvention schemes? That's a question. They come by seeing that. But ultimately, now see, a developer will never try to absorb the cost. Whether it is a developer subvention scheme, if you are going for a CLP, which is a construction linked payment, and the pricing is 100 rupees, then for a 20/80, the pricing is not going to be 100 rupees. It is going to be 130 rupees maybe, or 140 rupees, because you are adding the cost into the pricing. Similarly, even in case of bank subvention scheme, there will be some mathematical calculations that will be built into it. So people come, and then when they see that, okay, fine, the 100 rupees product, I have to pay 130, then maybe they will back out and they will still go for the CLP. It's a construction linked payment scheme. So traditionally, and even now also, the subvention scheme attracts people, walk-ins happen, interest is generated, but then booking is something which is still a very, very, a questionable thing, depending upon the person's finances, depending upon his understanding, his ability to understand the nuances of the subvention scheme. So we've hardly seen bookings in subvention. So if there are 100 deals that are happening and 100 people have come in because of the subvention, I think only 10, maybe maximum 15 will go for the subvention scheme. The rest, 90 or 85 will still go for CLP. That has been my observation.
So is it appropriate to say there's supply of, demand, or oversupply of, I would say, products to capture the audience, to get quick maybe purchases to be done?
I'll just say desperation leads people on to take strange natures, right? See, this is subvention schemes, and in the earlier days when seen Mercedes car with this and that, those are all hangovers of when this was a commodity, right? As a branded category, any brand worth its salt is not really going to discount the brand willingly so much, with the financial implications that he just spoke of, right? And he's absolutely right. No developer is going to sell at a loss. Eventually, it's not buy now, pay later. Buy now, pay more later. So, which is not right, because at the end of the day, if a brand is not going to be transparent and tell the consumers what they are gaining but what they are losing also, which most don't, it anyway leads to post-purchase dissonance. It leads to breakdown of trust, and eventually the brand suffers. So either one does it in complete transparency, in which case, like you said, you'll have walk-ins but not many bookings, and therefore it's not really going to help. or one focuses on what the brand is all about, what is it that consumers are buying. Focus on the value equation, not the price. Right? I think that's the only way to consistently succeed in the market. Sure, there'll be ups and downs. Every category has its ups and downs, but that doesn't mean one lets go of what's core to the brand and what we want the brand to stand for.
So these days, people are heavily dependent now on data analytics. People are talking data about everything when it comes to commercial, residential. But has it been ever that where you have relied on data and that data has gone wrong when it comes to your targeted audience or the marketing campaigns? And if it has, how do you come back and rectify that?
Yeah. So we have been, so 2 years back, we rehashed our entire system to capture as many demographic and psychographic information as we can at the time of booking. So we capture information like, of course, location. Where is he staying right now? Is he staying right now on rent or not? What is his mother tongue? From where exactly is his origin? If he is not from Bombay, then what is exactly his hometown? Then, whether he is financing the particular purchase on his own or whether he is taking a loan, how much percent loan is he taking? So all of this data analytics actually comes in handy or has come in handy in the last 2 years because we made it mandatory. Without this information in Hiranandani, you cannot enter. Nobody, like the site heads, cannot enter a booking. You have to have those information with you because otherwise the system won't accept it, and all this has to be filled. Now, where we use this particular data, it has come in handy. Number one, in understanding whether we need to go out of Mumbai in terms of taking a product, say whether I need to market it in Pune, if there is a strong connection Pune, whether I market it to Delhi NCR or not. Even in Mumbai, where I need to do it. If the majority of the consumers who are on rent are actually, buying this particular property, then maybe I need to tweak that particular communication. Now, coming back to your question, yes, whether the data analytics has ever gone wrong, I would say, yeah, 1 or 2 times. So, what happened is our last launch during, we launched 3 buildings. So out of the sector has 9 buildings. The Panvel project I'm talking about, that particular sector, which is around 15 acres, that has 9 buildings, and we launched the first 3 buildings, and we were very confident because from a certain data point that we had maintained previously before this particular sector had come in, that there is a demand for smaller size apartment, given the fact that there is a lot of MIDCs and all of that in the vicinity. And we first designed at least 2 full buildings of 1 BHK. But when we launched the first 3 buildings, we reserved the other 6 that don't put it, we will see the response of this particular thing, and then we will come back, and thank God we did that. The 2 BHKs and the 3 BHKs moved, and the 2 BHKs started moving in Jodi. So basically our perception that in the previous sector people had brought in studio also. People had brought in 1 BHK in large numbers, and that particular thought process, when you apply it to the new sector, now that was a few years back, and now we are talking about say 1.5 years from now, right? The entire market has actually changed. Now people are no longer, because the COVID actually changed people's perception. They want bigger spaces. They don't want they don't want to live in cramped up spaces. And our thought process that people from in and around the vicinity who are working in a lot of industrial units over there would actually buy over here, that particular thing had also gone wrong. Because as I told you, we got bookings from all across Mumbai, and from Navi Mumbai, we got only 10%, 15% of the bookings. So the data analytics, what we thought and what was giving us signals, completely, there was no correlation at all. So it completely turned 180 degree. And we really had to then, change our product in the next, phase, the next launch. We had to change our communication. We had to change our, a lot of things at the point of sale also, to show them that yes, we understand your needs. And initially we did not even plan for Jodi apartments, but we made a provision. But now, since we got so good response for the Jodis, we have a touch screen. We don't have any physical. We have stopped. Almost we have stopped using physical presenters or anything. We have a digital touchscreen presentation at all our sites, and in that we have started developing the Jodi plans. I can actually show the Jodi plan, how it will look. I have also made a walkthrough and all of that, so that we started responding to the people's needs, and then this thing took off. So yes, data actually gives you a perspective, but it may not always give you the right perspective, because with time, maybe within a year's time, the data might actually change. So that was a live example of the data speaking one thing and the actual scenario being complete opposite to that.
I agree. So given situation like this, how we explained, Viral, when it comes to data analytics, there are limitations, of course. As a marketing expert, how would you balance between data and your own intuition?
Yeah, that is one of the challenges that marketing does face, which is this whole new toy syndrome, right? I think, look, one of the things that as marketers we deal with is the complexities of the human mind, right? Combined with the emotions that go with the human heart, and try and understand the nuances of how these two work together for decisions that are such high value decisions. Data can never tell you that. Data can tell you what they did, how they did it.
Yeah.
It'll never tell you why they did it. Right? And I think there is absolutely no substitute for consumer connect, for talking with consumers, understanding how they think, why they think, and why they feel the way they do, and so on and so forth, right? And I think that is something that is reducing, because everyone seems to believe data is the kind of panacea, it will cure all problems, but it doesn't. And therefore, I mean, for us, there is a very clear balance, if you will. Data is used to substantiate, prove or disprove hypothesis. It's not used for decisions. I mean, there are certain decisions that data allows you to make, but when you're talking about what the insight is, what is the consumer need, what should be the proposition, etc., data can only tell you later whether that is true or not. Yeah, but I don't think from a marketing point of view it should replace consumer understanding and digging deeper for insights. Yeah.
Would you agree with this statement?
Yeah, kind of. But
Kind of.
yeah, so why kind of is basically, we have to have a certain starting point. Data analysis gives you that. Whether I need to target SEC A or a SEC A plus, or whether a SEC B, that particular starting point my data can give me. Of course, as I told you, in this particular case, my data analysis proved me wrong. But in most of the other cases, this data analysis helps me in actually targeting the right segment. So it has both pros and cons. Of course, in hindsight, anything you can always say that, okay, I did not consider this, or I did not consider that, that's why this analysis was wrong, or because thank God I did this, that's why this analysis is right. So in hindsight, everything falls in place. But then when you are actually looking into the future, data can give you that starting point. But it is, as you rightly said, data is not 100% accurate. It can never be. Only in hindsight, data can be 100% accurate. But when you're looking into the future, yeah, data is there somewhat, 75% to 80%. It can give you a proper direction. But that remaining 20%, it's still, based on your intuitions, your qualitative understanding. So data gives you quantitative. A qualitative understanding, all of those still matters when you're looking into the future.